The reading this morning is from Everyday Enlightenment by Dan Millman. From a conventional view, Everyday Enlightenment helps you create a more fulfilling life through awareness. Awareness reduces or eliminates self-sabotage, strengthens your will, leads to improved energy and health, and helps to create financial stability and increase your compassion, perspective, and humor, leading to more loving relationships. But do you really believe that a satisfying relationship, money in the bank, or good health are in themselves the ultimate purpose of life? Or is there something more? I propose that the something more involves a unifying spiritual theme. Psychologist Abraham Maslow once proposed that we need to satisfy or resolve lower needs in order to address higher ones, ultimately leading toward what he called self-actualization. In other words, until we've addressed survival and safety needs, we don't have energy or attention for higher social or spiritual concerns. As you resolve issues, you release attention previously bound by those issues. When attention is free, it rises like a balloon to higher levels of experience. The challenges of life remain, but your perception and awareness becomes bright and clear. Your higher purpose is to free your attention so that you become capable of seeing spirit everywhere, every day, in everyone, and in everything, leading to everyday enlightenment.
So I'm going to start this morning with a story about these two friends who ran into each other after many years. And the one friend attended college, and he wasn't very prosperous at all, had a really rough time. The other one had not attended college, never had much ambition, and yet he became very, very rich. So the educated one said to his friend, "How's everything going for you?" He said, "Man, great. One day," he said, "I opened the Bible at random, and I put my finger on a word, opened my eyes, and it said oil. And boy, so I invested in oil, and boy, those oil wells gushed. So I tried it again, and I placed my finger randomly in the Bible and opened my eyes, and it said gold." And then he said, "It was amazing how well those gold mines absolutely did." He said, "I made so much money on those two things. I'm as rich as a Rockefeller." Well, the educated friend was really impressed. He was really excited, so he ran back to his hotel room, grabbed the Gideon Bible, flipped it open, put his finger down, opened his eyes. Chapter 11. Chapter 11? Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you. Attitude, right? It's all about attitude. And boy, you guys are slow. Last week I talked about getting what we believe we deserve. And according to Dan Millman in this book, that is the first and most important aspect of learning to live everyday enlightenment. And that moves us on to this week, behaving as if we are already enlightened. Now, Bill shared in that reading that our higher purpose is to free our attention so we can become capable of seeing spirit everywhere, in everything, in all things, leading to everyday enlightenment. And that's what I want to explore this morning, that idea of seeing God's spirit in all, in everything, in everyone, including ourselves. And I think sometimes, in some cases, that's the most difficult place to see it. So I want you to just think about for a moment what it is you see when you look at yourself in the mirror. I mean, what do you see? Do you see that confident, loving, generous, beautiful, compassionate being? Because if you don't, I'm going to invite you to look again. And look again very closely. and open your eyes, because we are all an individualized part of God, and the purpose of life is to realize that, to see that, to be aware of our oneness with it. The Sufi mystic and poet Hafiz wrote this: "You are the sun in drag. You are God hiding from yourself. Remove all the mine that is the veil. Why worry about anything?" Listen to what your friend Hafiz knows for certain. The appearance of this world is a magi's brilliant trick, though its affairs are nothing unto nothing. You are a divine elephant with amnesia, trying to live in an anthole. Sweetheart, oh sweetheart, you are God in drag. Now, that might be an odd way for us to hear that we are made of that God substance, and it's the truth. And obviously for years, that has been a known fact. When you think about that whole idea, though, you realize that we do consciously think about what we're presenting to the world, don't we? We're aware of that. And what I want you to really know is God doesn't only look like famous people or so-called important people. God looks exactly like you. Exactly like you. God also looks like the person sitting next to you, or across from you, or walking down the street, or sitting in the park. It's all God. All of it. Chuck Lorre is a writer for TV sitcoms, and this is what he wrote. "A wise man once told me that we are all God in drag, and I like that. Sometimes I'm in a public place or sitting at a stoplight, and I'll watch people walking by, and I'll silently say to myself, he's God, she's God, he's God, she's God. And before long," he says, "I always find myself feeling a warm sense of affinity for these strangers. The experience is even more powerful when I do this while observing a person who is clearly suffering." He goes on to say this: On occasion, I test my little spiritual practice by turning on the evening news, and within minutes I become an atheist." Is that great? He's honest, right? He's honest. It can be a little more difficult. When we find ourselves losing sight of that idea that everyone and everything is God, it really does benefit us greatly in that moment to remember who we are, and to remember that we are surrounded by all of these God beings, no matter what it looks like, no matter how they're behaving. We're all God. We are all part of an important part of that essence. One way we can remind ourselves, if we forget, like sometimes we do, is use that mantra Namaste silently to ourselves, and repeat that. And however that means to you, God in me greets the God in you. I know the place in you which the universe dwells, in truth, in peace, in love, in light. However that mantra translates for you, but use that silently. And like Chuck Lorre was saying on here, it helps shift your perspective and the way you're seeing things. And then when you feel like you've got that down pat, turn on the news, right? Just like he did, and test yourself and see how you're doing. When we honor that place within each other, we're recognizing and honoring our oneness in spirit. That can never be wrong. That can never be a bad thing. Even if we don't like it, even if we don't believe it at that moment, we can still behave as if. We can behave as if that person is God, is me, is spirit. Practicing and understanding that concept are two complete different things. Would you agree with me? And that's true with any practice and understanding. So, I'm inviting you to practice it. Take that from your head to your heart and use the practice of Namaste when you are with somebody. In Greg Braden's book, The Secrets of the Lost Mode of Prayer, he shares one of my very favorite stories about accompanying this tribal shaman on a rain dance. So, Braden is expecting this great big hoopla of costumes, of dance, of lots of ritual. And so the shaman walked alone to an area that was marked with stones. And he walked very silently around the perimeter of those stones just for a moment, and he stopped, and he closed his eyes, and he became quiet for a few moments, and was clearly in a meditative state. Well, after a very short time, the shaman said he was finished and ready to go to lunch. And Braden's like, okay. And so he was very surprised at that briefness, and he said to the shaman, I thought you were going to pray for rain. And the shaman said, no, I'm not going to pray for rain. I prayed rain. He said that he prayed rain by imagining and feeling that rain landing on his skin. That he sensed the moisture as it collected the dirt beneath his feet. He smelled the sweet and the fresh fragrance of the rain, heard the pitter-patter of those drops as they fell. He saw the dewy wetness upon all of the foliage in the area and watched it fall from the sky. He saw it. He lived the experience with every minute detail in his mind and in his heart. He said about an hour later they were having lunch, and guess what? That much-needed rain fell. Now, I love that story because it clearly demonstrates the importance of behaving as if. The shaman felt the rain, he gave thanks for the rain, and then it rained. It's a powerful way to create, behaving as if it's already done, as if it's already happened, and being in that deep state of gratitude. So Millman tells us that for a lot of people, becoming enlightened is a process in which we work from the inside out, and that's something that we're used to talking about. Clearing our body, clearing our psyche, and then that can help us behave in an enlightened way. So what he proposes is we can do it the other way. We can actually work from the outside in by behaving as if. In other words, he says the behavior can precede our realization. Fake it until you make it. We've all heard that, right? Behaving as if we already are enlightened. Wayne Dyer says you'll see it when you believe it. It's about acting as if prior to it actually occurring. Now, did it again. We're working on it. Christians use the adage, what would Jesus do, right? When they're in and some of us probably use it too. When they're not feeling confident maybe about a particular situation or a particular decision that they're making. Use Buddha, use Kuan Yin, use Yoda, right? There is no try. There is only do. I mean, that's a great one to live by, is it not? Imagine what their behavior would look like, would be like, and mimic that. That's something I needed to do when I first got my license and we first started Common Ground, the center actually out here in Corona. I thought, ooh, what do I do? Well, what would I expect a minister to do? How would I expect them to behave? And whether I was right or wrong, it didn't really matter, right? But what did I want? What did I expect? What did I respect in others that I wanted to be? How would an enlightened being behave in a particular situation? Those are the kinds of things that you want to ask yourself. What would a compassionate person do in this particular instance? Whatever instance that is. Well, Millen comes up with some really terrific suggestions on how to practice enlightenment by posing some more additional questions. He said, what if while we're experiencing fear, sorrow, envy, resentment, doubt, uncertainty, what if we still behaved in an enlightened way? What if we behaved that way? What if we moved with grace even if we thought we were a klutz? What if we treated ourselves with kindness even if we thought we were undeserving? If we're in an uncomfortable situation, maybe with people that we're, maybe not very fond of, would it matter what we happen to be thinking or feeling at that moment, as long as our actions reflect loving kindness? He proposes that instead of waiting to feel enlightened, peaceful, blissful, or wise, that when you behave in an enlightened manner, you become that positive influence, not just on yourself, but on others as well. And then your life begins this positive chain of cause and effect reactions. And I think this is really important, what he reminds us of here. Acting kind when you don't feel kind is kindness. Acting brave when you don't feel brave is bravery. Acting decisive when you feel confused is clarity. And I think sometimes we forget those things. They're so basic, and we don't give ourselves enough credit. This practice of behaving as if has absolutely nothing to do with how you feel, or those sometimes wild thoughts that go through our head, unless I'm the only one that's had those. It has everything to do with action. Love is an action. Happiness is an action. Courage is an action. Service is an action. And so is practicing enlightenment. Try that practice of behaving as if. And at first you might feel like you're pretending, and you probably are, but we're all very, very good at acting. Let me point that out. Think of the countless roles that you play in your life. Mother, father, brother, sister, son, daughter, wife, husband, employee, friend. We all play these countless roles, and we're constantly shifting based on what our surroundings are, what our circumstances are. So when you begin this practice, the point is this: you don't have to think or feel enlightened. You only need to behave that way as much as you can when you remember. And by doing that, you will transform your everyday life into a path of personal growth, personal evolution, and that is filled with deeper meaning and deeper purpose. Enlightenment doesn't achieve or demand perfection. It embraces life as it is, and it participates fully with faith and with trust in life. If you're familiar with Adyashanti, he's a master meditation teacher that lives up in the Bay Area, and he wrote this, which is powerful. Enlightenment is very ordinary. It's nothing special. Rather than making you more special, it's going to make you less special. It plants you right in the center of a wonderful humility and an innocence. You know, we spend so much of our time, or many people spend much of their time trying to be important, trying to be somebody. And the truth is, with enlightenment, it's about just being part of the whole and blending in and melding into spirit. As we grow in awareness, I think one of the biggest ideas is that we're such an influence on people around us. We influence, and we don't even realize how much. We can become that spark that sets others aflame. And I think that's exciting, because as an individual, we touch the community. The community touches the region touches the nation, and the nation touches the world. That's how each and every single one of us contribute to the beauty of the whole. So as you move through your week, remember to behave as if you already are enlightened. See with the eyes of your heart. Recognize God in all things. And that might just make your day a little bit brighter. Thank you so much for being here while I shared this truth as I understand it.